Hello everyone, good evening. Hello, good evening. Can we all hear me?
Good evening,
Hello, good
sir.
evening.
Yes,
Can we
sir.
hear me? Okay, thank you very much, Openiko. Welcome to class, everyone. Thank you all for joining. We are currently in week 5, week 4 rather, of our JIIPCC mentorship and internship program. And I especially want to welcome all of us to class. Thank you all for joining in. We hope and expect to have a very, very wonderful session in today's class. We have a power-filled or a power-packed class ready for you. Right? We do hope that you guys are ready for us as much as we are ready for you. Please, I would like to encourage the mentees to reach out to their other co-mentees so that we can get more people to join in for this session. Uh, we are we are going to be treating sports business and law in today's session. And I can see a few of our mentors are already joining, and we already know the drill. Please, mentees, let's get ready for our presentation. Let's try as much as possible to reach out to our presenters so that we will have a very smooth transition in class. So just to go straight to introduce our mentors for today, I can see he's already on the call. We'll be having firstly Mr. Folarin Aliko. Thank you so much, Mr. Folarin, for joining. We are happy to have you in this session. Seeing that Mr. Folarin has been with us prior to now, we will not necessarily be reading his profile. We have done that, I think, a couple of times. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you very much.
for joining. We are happy to have you in this session. Okay.
Hello, did you call on me? Hello.
Hello, sir. Sorry, I think Dennis' network is bad.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
please, you could go ahead.
Um, I'm not sure I heard the introduction uh, very clearly, but I know yes. So if you
Okay, I
could
think
please
he's
fill
back
me.
now. Sorry.
Okay.
Dennis,
Sorry.
please carry on.
I'm so sorry. My network logged me out. I did not know I wasn't audible. Thank you all. Thank you, Sophie, for stepping in. All right, so I'll just go back to sharing my screen. Sorry about that. Our next mentor that we're supposed to have is Mr. Sand Mbakalu. Mr. Sand, another wonderful mentor that we have had. We had him in week 1 discuss still talk about intellectual property for business. We hope that he'll be able to join us in this session, maybe much later on. Next, we are expecting to have in the session Mrs. Navana Talk. Mrs. Navana Talk is an entrepreneurial intellectual property rights and affairs executive offering 26 plus years of law firm and in-house corporate experience combined, instrumental in mitigating risks, building organization capacity, driving optimization, and securing multi-million dollar deals, experience in partnering closely with C-level executive on a wide range of legal, compliance, operational, finance, employment, and strategic business matters. Experts, expertise in licensing, acquiring, and enforcing intellectual property rights related to platforms, leverage business acumen, and legal expertise to drive growth while resolving complex issues within high energy and fast-paced environments, representing clients in commercial litigation, transactional and intellectual property matters, across a wide range of industries in the Gulf nation. Mrs. Navana is not yet here with us, but we trust she will be joining us soon enough. Next, okay, one of the mentors we already have on the call is Mr. Farai Razano. Mr. Farai Razano has an LLB and an LLM in environmental law from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. He also has an LLM in sports law and practice from the Sports University. Farai specializes primarily in sports and entertainment law. He has acted for various clients, including individual sports persons, clubs, sports associations or federations, and production houses in the film and television industry. He has appeared and acted for various parties before specially sports dispute resolution tribunals, including the Court of Arbitration for Sports. Farai is a chairperson of the Constitutional Committee of Athletics South Africa. He is also a panelist on the FIFA Pro Bono Council panel, serves as an editorial board member for Law in Sports Africa Subdivision. Farai has also acted as a prosecutor for Boxing South Africa and the South African Institute of Drug-Free Sports. Thank you so much, Mr. Farai, for joining us. We are happy to have you in the session, and we look forward to picking from your brain and just getting to hear what you have for us on the topic for today, sports business and law. I think last but not least, we'll be having another new mentor in class today, and that is Miss Beverly Abakobo. Abakuba, sorry. Mrs. Beverly is an experienced arbitrator, mediator, and dispute resolution practitioner with over 20 years of professional experience in Nigeria and the United Kingdom. In the United Kingdom, specializing in commercial law, regulatory compliance, governance, and institutional advisory. She serves as a certified neutral with institutes including Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse, Lagos Court of Arbitration, and the Nigerian Institute of Chartered Arbitrators, and is a member of several international dispute resolution panels. Her appointments include membership on the FIFA Mediation Panel, Sports Resolution International, and the World Athletics Safeguarding Case Managing Group, alongside her mediation with institutions in Kenya, Malaysia, and Hong Kong. Her dispute resolution experience spans commercial banking, employment, intellectual property, technology, and sports disputes, with appearance before bodies such as the Nigerian Football Association Federation, as the NFF, the Nigerian Copyright Commission, FIBA, and the Court of Arbitration for Sports. She also has a strong sector experience in financial services, sports, entertainment, media, technology, regulatory compliance, employment, and governance, supported by policy advisory work in sports and the creative sector. In leadership and governance, she has served as former chairperson of the MBA session on business law, sports, entertainment and technology committees. She is a member of Women in Sports Law and sits on the panel of the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation. Her recognition includes being named a global leader in sports law by Lexology, that's in 2024 and 2025, recognized by the World Intellectual Property Review in 2024, and receiving the Executive Presence Lawyer Award at the Business of Law Award 2024. She speaks English and French. Thank you so much, Ma. I'm not sure if she's yet here on the call, but yes, she's already on the call. Thank you so much, Ma, for joining in. We are happy to have you in this session. So just to try to give our new mentors a breakdown of how the session will be going, right? What we'll be doing is we'll be taking the mentors discussions for I think 20 minutes each. Their opening discussions, we'll be doing that for 20 minutes each. We have some of our mentees have made presentations. We'll be taking their presentations for roughly 10 minutes. And after we are done with the presentations from the mentors and the mentees, we'll take the feedback from the mentors just to give a highlight to what the mentees have done. I think the presentation has already been sent to you earlier on for you to go through and review. Right. So after we are done with that, then we will be taking questions on the session and then concluding. Yeah, we'll be concluding with questions. So that's how the session will be going. So not to waste any time, sorry, I forgot to properly introduce myself. My name is Dennis Williams, and I will be moderating today's session. So I would like to start based off on, I think, how I noticed our mentors joining in for the session. And I think we had firstly on the call, Mr. Farai Raziano. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. Please, sir, for maybe for like the next 20 minutes, we just want to get to hear you share your thoughts with us on the topic for today, sports business and law. Thank you very much, sir. You're welcome.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Beverly. Loud and
Okay.
clear.
Oh, great. Good evening, sorry, everyone. And thank you so much for the warm introduction and reading my profile. So what I wanted to do was to check that my slides were available to share. Otherwise, I could share it, but it would take some time to share. So if we could commence sharing on my end, and then we can start. So we are going to run for about an hour and a bit. I'm so sorry, because I have another appointment right after this, and I can't miss it, unfortunately. So I'll try and do as much as possible in a short space of time. Is it okay to start?
Yes, you can go ahead.
I can go ahead.
I
Okay.
will be sharing your screen for you.
Okay. So first of all, thank you so much, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. It's been a while since I mentored. I did my first JIIPCC almost 4 years ago or so, quite a while. So it's really nice to be back at such a momentous time when sports has now been selected as the theme for WIPO for 2026. So it's really timely, and I'm very happy to be back. So I put together some slides that we can kind of go through. I love to keep things interactive. So what you could all do is put all your questions in the Q&A box or in the chat, so you don't lose your train of thought. And hopefully we can take the last 20 minutes might be, no, yeah, we should be able to do 20 minutes, because I don't intend to make this so long. I don't want to lecture at you. I want us to have more of an interactive session. So let me run this for about 20 minutes, the presentation, hopefully, and then we can do another 20 minutes Q&A, if that's okay, or actually 40 minutes Q&A. Let's spend more time interacting. So sports business and IP. I'm going to be talking in general about how IP shapes modern sports, how IP shapes the modern sports industry. And honestly, I feel like it's never been a better time to be in the sports industry, in as much as, yes, for those of us who live and work in Africa, in Nigeria, it can feel a bit frustrating at times, because we don't have the benefit of such a, hyper active, hyper scale industry. But I always say, where there is a bit of inactivity and lag means that there's a lot of opportunity to be leveraged. So that's the way I see it. Leveraging opportunity is the name of the game, and I guess I can make I can make a little bit of a shameless plug at this point. One of the areas that I saw a lot of opportunity in sports business was in the area of education. And, I love the fact that JIIPCC is so big on mentorship, because honestly, you need mentorship to help bring the next generation, up. And actually, vice versa. Mentoring isn't just a one-way street, it's a two-way street. And similar to JIPC, I decided to, put my money where my mouth is and invest in sports education. So just to prove the point that I am not just talking and teaching this, I am actually walking the walk as well. I set up the Business of Sports Institute about a year ago, and it's been pretty exciting, being in that educational space. So definitely we're going to have a look at some very interesting areas in sports business and see how they, overlap with IP. So yeah, I just wanted to put it out there that I also have a sports business aside from being a sports lawyer. All right, next slide, please, if that's okay. So this is how it's going to flow. We've already done the welcome and introductions. I'm going to take you briefly through the sports business landscape, IP fundamentals, which I know a lot of you know already, IP in action, because ultimately your IP isn't worth anything until you put it into motion, until you set it in motion. Okay, then let's talk about some emerging issues, and then we'll have our Q&A session. So you can kind of ignore the timing a little bit. I intend to give a lot more time for the Q&A. So let's roll. Next one. Next slide. Okay, so I always like to have my, my starting statement, which is the sports business landscape is a billion-dollar industry. I always do this, and I believe it. I'm not just saying it. I'm not just trying to, say it for the sake of trying to catch your attention. It's the truth. It's real. It's just that when you don't feel it personally in your environment, it can sometimes feel a little bit remote. But the reality is, we all see it every day on our TV screens. I'm sure some of your kids are wearing the pajamas, like my son, who lives and breathes in his Man City pajamas every night. You guys are watching the EPL. It's all around us, right? Africa-wise, again, we don't feel the heartbeat so much of the sports industry, which is always the reason why we tend to fall back on the Western world. But I kid you not, the minute we get our act together, a lot of those opportunities will unlock. And there's so many revenue streams in sports business. Broadcasting and media, I think, are the most obvious ones. What you watch, what you enjoy, that is the number one way to get the fans engaged and involved. Merchandising and licensing, like I told you, my son lives, breathes, sleeps in his Man City pajamas. And you can imagine how how all these major sports brands, franchises, you can imagine how they all capitalize on their assets by producing things that they know that their fans want to use. For Pete's sake, I'm sure some of them even do bottled water. They do handbags. They do backpacks. They do bed sheets. They do even Christmas. Oh my goodness. I think I saw one club that has Christmas decorations. The whole idea is for them to be constantly in your face, getting each and every one of you to spend roughly about 20 to 30K Naira, not dollars, getting all of you to spend just a little bit. And guess what? That adds up to the billion-dollar industry we're talking about. Then let's talk about ticketing, match day revenue. I mean, how many of you here have watched a live game? Can you just give me a show of hands? How many of you here have watched a live game? It doesn't have to be international. It doesn't have to be football, anything at all. How many of you? I need to see a show of hands. Just do a show of hands with your react button. Show of hands with your react button. Nobody here has watched a live game. Wow. Why are you in this class? So no one here. Okay, great. I see Mr. Aluko has watched a live game. I see JIIPCC's watched a live game. Okay, so let's put it this way. 2 out of 13 have at least watched the live game. That is something, okay? That says a lot. Sponsorship and naming rights, again, that's another big way to earn major revenue. And what's the whole premise of this? That's basically where an asset, typically a physical asset like a stadium being the most obvious example, decides, no. What's the point of leaving the name of the stadium open? Why doesn't a bank, a popular bank, a global bank, a national bank come and name my asset? And for the benefit of putting their name on my asset, I license the rights to to the use of, I license the rights, the image rights, and they put their name on the physical asset. So that's another way that revenue is raised. Digital gaming and esports is another massive one, very massive. I know I've been seeing a lot of movement Nigeria wise, and I think that guy is called Stephen Ojo. If I'm correct, Stephen has just he's involved in the launch of a brand new esports platform. So a lot of exciting things are definitely happening in the digital space, the gaming space. And of course, data and content rights are huge, absolutely huge. So all these, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, but these are the key revenue streams, at least that you need to know. So ultimately, sport is not just a game. Sport is not just about, playing ball, playing tennis. There's a lot more that goes on behind what your eyes can actually see. It actually represents an entire IP ecosystem. So whatever you're doing, however you're interacting in the sports ecosystem, believe me, there's an IP element to what you're interacting with, okay? So if you're watching it on your TV screen, just know that that channel that you're watching has paid the broadcasting rights to enable you enjoy it on their channel. If you are into merchandise and you love buying the latest jersey, you have bought into that IP ecosystem. If you decide to go for a match day game, maybe a friendly match between two teams, just know that you've bought into that IP ecosystem, and it goes on. Or even if you play PlayStation and you play what's it called, the game, I've forgotten what it's called, you have also bought into the IP ecosystem. So it's a huge ecosystem, and all these aspects involve a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars usually. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Okay, so this I'm going to gloss over because JIIPCC is one of the leading IP platforms, and I know they've done their homework, so I know you're all pretty up to speed with, the basic fundamentals of IP, the different types of IP, trademarks, we all know, logos, names, slogans. So that will translate to club names, badges, kits, team names can also be trademarked, copyright, same thing. The running commentary, that's also copyrighted. Photography, the sports photographers that are taking those amazing photographs on the pitch that you see, those are also protected by copyright. The music, the game, when you just hear the opening tune and exactly that, oh yeah, this is the opening song for that your favorite game on EA, that is obviously copyrighted. And then patents and design, we're talking wearable tech. Wearable tech is such a big thing right now. How players can have their statistics tracked. So they wear those, I'm sure you've seen them, wear those black vests, which sit underneath their kits. Those are used to track their fitness and performance data. Well, guess what? All that is already patented, okay? So a lot, IP is everywhere. It's all around you in sports. Okay, can we go to the next slide, please? Trying to be fast. Okay, so broadcasting rights. Wow, now this is the ultimate, okay? When we talk about broadcasting rights, we want to be able to beam, whether it's the AFCON games, whether it's the Olympic Games, whether it's, the MMA fights. Broadcasting rights are so important because that's one of the major ways your fans get to enjoy the games. That's how they get to enjoy and have a piece of the action. Okay. And these rights deals can last a couple of months, but they can last a couple of years, all depending. But when it comes to broadcasting rights, the stakes have risen higher and higher and higher in the last couple of years. Some of the most expensive and the most lucrative rights deals you'll see on the right-hand side run even into the billions, like the Premier League rights. We're talking billions, NFL, also billions, because they are pretty passionate about sports in the States. UEFA Champions League, cricket. I don't know why we don't talk enough about cricket. Maybe it's because we're not a cricketing nation, but honestly, countries like South Africa, Kenya, these are countries that understand the power of cricket. Okay. Pakistan, so cricket is a big deal in these said countries, and they also have broadcasting rights. They want to be able to beam these cricket games, world games, world cricket games, to as many people as possible. Because don't forget something, this whole colonial setup that we're in, where the UK colonized Nigeria, colonized India, Pakistan, Kenya. It has created this intangible link forever between Britain and its former colonies, and the numbers in Nigeria, the numbers in India. So you can imagine the value of having fans of old classic English games like football and cricket. Imagine how that translates into dollars. Okay, so it's no surprise, honestly, that some of the biggest territories for football, cricket, in terms of fans, happens to be in places like India and places like Nigeria. Okay, so broadcasting rights are very, very important. Broadcasting rights are effectively the deals, the contracts that are signed between the broadcaster and the license. So basically the licensor and the licensee, if I want to use the correct terminology. The licensor gives the licensee a right to beam their content on their channel. Okay. And one important thing you should know about broadcasting is it's all about territory. It's all about jurisdiction. So it's not a blanket right. You get, as a licensee, your right is derived on your spending power and the number of territories or jurisdictions that you are buying access into. Okay, so I guess a very good example would be SuperSport. So SuperSport is in Africa. They are a South African broadcaster, but they have their DSTV platform that they use to broadcast all over Africa. And of course, you well know that SuperSport has often gained licensing deals to beam World Cup games and so many other different types of games. Okay, and they do that on behalf of the African continent, in most likely their key countries, and those licenses cost a lot of money. Okay, which I know we all also complained as the end users, because we, the end users, were ultimately paying towards those licenses. But ultimately, it's a big game. It's a game of numbers. The more numbers you have, the bigger the bigger the incentive for a licensor to issue you with a license, because the licensor wants their content to be beamed to as many people as possible, right? It's in their best interests. Okay, so the more people, hundreds of millions of people, are seeing their content, the more desirable it is to have a relationship with that licensee. So yeah, it's very interesting. Unfortunately, piracy is a bit of a problem, very, very big problem. I know I've heard of major issues with sports channels being pirated, or let me explain. So sometimes digitally, you can have a situation where if your digital infrastructure is not well set up, like a channel can actually bounce off your beam. So imagine the olden days where there were satellites, satellite TV. So you could have people actually intercept the satellite. So that still does happen, believe it or not. So in recent times, I know there was a major dispute with a channel called Bain. Bain is in the Middle East, and they were being intercepted by another unauthorized channel, which was beaming Bain's content. Bain is Bein. Okay, so that caused a major dispute at any rate. So it's very important that channels, broadcasters adequately secure their I'm no technologist, but in layman's speak, to secure their beams such that they are not intercepted by unauthorized users. So again, referring back to the old days when Wi-Fi was a new thing, and people used to look for exposed Wi-Fi, so they just hop on. Thank you so much, Mr. Falari Aluko. Exactly, encrypt their signals, right? So it's so important that broadcasters implement and incorporate the right level of digital security, encryption. But if not, very, very smart fraudsters will just, hijack their signals effectively. So piracy, stream ripping, still a major problem. Still in 2026, believe it or not. So it's something that that persists, and that broadcasters have to pay attention to. Okay, let's take the next slide. Okay, so image rights and personality rights is a very interesting one. I really like this one. This is where, the personality, the likeness of sports people really comes into play. The whole idea of being able to use and leverage off your name, your likeness, even your voice. In fact, I'll tell you some crazy thing that's now happening. You will not believe this. It's gotten to the point where there are companies out there that actually want to have the right to license an avatar, a digital version of these same sports persons. It's incredible. That is where the world is going to now. In fact, I thought I saw an interesting advert involving Jennifer Lopez. Yes, I think it was Jennifer Lopez. And apparently she did an advert. I don't know whether it was her or her hologram. Yeah, but I read that she actually couldn't make the shoot, and it was not her real person that was at the shoot. Like, it's gotten to the stage where, because of technology advancements, people will be able to license their digital alter ego. And another person I can tell you that did this is Kylian Mbappe. Kylian Mbappe also had an advert with I think it was a sporting brand. I can't quite remember which, and he was not able to be there in person, but they created an image of him, like say an avatar of him. So that's the direction in which the world is now moving. Because truth be told, people are busy. People also don't necessarily want to deal with flying people out. Even these superstars may not necessarily feel the need to fly all the way, to go for, say, a photo shoot or an advert, or maybe it involves dangerous circumstances. So rather than use their real self, they're now, thinking about using their digital alter ego. So image rights, again, just is about how sportsmen and women can control can make, or rather I would say exploit for commercial gain, the use of their name, likeness, voice. I mean, one of the biggest names in sports that does this, I think we all know his name. I don't need to say too much, right? I think we all know his name, and his name is Ronaldo. Ronaldo's name has been on everything from toothpaste to cars to so many things. Ronaldo is one person that really works hard for his money. Okay. But it's very important that athletes also protect their IP. So in case you're thinking about, what interesting ways you can, help your clients who are, in sports, you can tell them. One of the first things I always say to my clients that are, in entertainment or sports is to get your name registered as a starting point. Register your name, protect your name, because the truth of the matter is, even though people know you with your name, it doesn't mean that you ultimately have first rights to it. No, that's the interesting thing about IP. It's whoever claims it that gets to use it. So please, it's important that we all tell our clients that they should register their names, and or even nicknames. So I'll tell you some famous people that registered their names. Of course, Ronaldo, we all know that. Ronaldo registered his name. Beyonce registered her name. Even Beyonce's first child registered, her name is registered and was registered before she was born. And interesting, this is not an athlete though, but a singer, Katy Perry. Don't know if we all know who she is. So she interestingly had another person by the same name, exact same name, but the spelling of Katy was slightly different. And that person registered her name before Katy, before the Katy Perry we know in the public domain registered her name, and they ended up going to court. So the commercial Katy Perry took the ordinary Katy Perry to court. And guess what? Believe it or not, the ordinary Katy Perry won, because at the end of the day, she was doing her business, minding her business, or maybe not. And then the commercial Katy Perry said, "Oh, you're trying to, you're trying to leverage off my name." So the truth of the matter is, your name is an asset, but it's only an asset until you register it. Okay, very, very important. Some people are registering their faces, even signatures. Signatures makes a lot of sense because, footballers, especially cricketers, tennis players, they always do like, what's it called? What's it called again? I've forgotten. When they sign on, they sign, when they sign on autographs. Thank you so much. So they autograph. So that autograph can be, it's very valuable. Can you imagine if you have a T-shirt with Ronaldo's signature? That T-shirt may have cost you $5, but by the time Ronaldo's signature goes on the T-shirt, that T-shirt could potentially go for up to $2,000. So the autograph is very, very, very priceless. Okay, so I mean, those are some different ways that athletes can protect their IP. And don't forget, we all know that with IP, it comes in different classes. Okay, 25, 41, 33, class for education, class for merchandise, class for business consulting. So when these athletes are registering, trust me, they're not registering in only one category. They are registering in multiple categories, yeah, so that they can protect their brands. And another thing, they're not registering in only one country. No. Someone like Ronaldo will be registered in the UK, US, Australia, France, Germany, as a starting point, cover the main countries. And then if need be, go into the smaller ones if there's a threat. So yeah, IP is a very interesting one. The key legal tools used, we don't really need to go into that, but typically it's it's backed by the Trademark Act. Privacy and data protection is a really big thing. Athletes they have their right to privacy. They deserve to be protected. They don't, even though they're public figures, they still have a right to live free from harassment and from abuse and all sorts of things. So typically, I can imagine that their lawyers would go to certain lengths to make sure that certain things about them gets blocked out from from the public arena. If people write libelous make libelous statements about them, they would typically jump into action quickly and um, 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 have raised lawsuits against offending people. So these people work with very, very talented lawyers that obviously know the law, and they know the the landscape and what is available to them in terms of what laws they can use to enforce and what laws they can use to safeguard their clients' rights. So, I mean, some major examples, Ronaldo, a lot of his earnings comes from his image. Funny enough, a lot of it comes from his image. His hair, his skin, his clothes, his style, sense of style. Serena Williams also is somebody that's very, very smart, very, very smart. Her brand equity easily exceeds what she's earned in real time. And Man City, the club I was telling you about that my son loves their pajamas, they have their image rights managed by third parties. And that's quite popular in more advanced jurisdictions, where you actually have companies specifically set up to manage image rights, meaning they do all the hard work. They will go out and look for the right brand opportunities, whether that is in TV, whether that is in merch. So there are sophisticated companies out there that are already doing this on a sort of full-time basis. So yeah, image rights are they're very interesting. Image rights contracts too can be very, very complex to draft, because there's so many aspects of the image, and you want to make sure that you've covered everything to make sure that there are no loopholes that can be exploited. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Okay, so ambush marketing, just talking about this quickly. Ambush marketing is pretty much a situation where you have a main sponsor, for example. You have a main headline sponsor for an event. Okay, so let me create a scenario. Imagine there's an imaginary mega games, and the sponsor of the mega games is ABC Sporty Limited. And it's clear that they are the sponsor. You see their banners, you see their posters, you see the officials wearing the caps. And then what do you know? During one of the parades, you now see this massive flash mob of a competitor, 123 Limited or something, 123 Sporty, come out with all some athletes, some fans in the audience, and they're all wearing this brand. That is pretty much what you call ambush marketing. So it's basically done in order to detract and give this false impression that there's an association with an event to gain a commercial benefit. And guess what? They've done it and they've not paid anything. All they've done is they've just arranged for a whole bunch of people to come out wearing their brand. So that sort of thing can be very, very frustrating, upsetting for the official sponsor, who has spent millions of dollars to secure that coveted exclusive premier platinum sponsorship brand, and then you have somebody or a brand go and try and steal the limelight, as it were. So these sort of things actually do arise in real life. So some of the things that are available, I mean, an injunction could be obtained, social media takedowns, contractual restrictions, or you could also just outright sue as well for damages in terms of what was lost, what was lost in terms of the amount of attention that was taken away from the main sponsor. I mean, those sort of things you have to calculate them, obviously, but ambush marketing can be particularly tricky, but it does happen, and it has happened in the past, and it actually goes against every sense of the word, because sports is meant to be clean, it's meant to be fair, it's meant to be open, it's just meant to be friendly, okay? But something like ambush marketing ends up, leaving a bad taste. It's very distasteful. It's certainly very unethical as well. So it's just something that, major brands think about. I mean, what can they do to prevent it? Stop and search. Make sure you search everyone coming into a game. I don't know. But it's definitely something that has sparked a lot of conversation in the past. Okay, should we move on? Shall we move on rather? Okay, so let's look at some emerging areas in sports IP. What could be new? Again, I talked about esports and gaming. That's a really big one. Just the sheer numbers involved in gaming. It's growing so fast. In fact, gaming is growing so fast that now we even have dispute resolution bodies specifically set up for gaming, believe it or not, because that is the influence and the power of gaming at the moment. You have games for gaming. You have tournaments, international tournaments, well put together tournaments with teams that come from different countries. So gaming has really become it's grown a lot. It's actually grown a lot. And I think I heard this week that the first African country to include esports in its official Olympic roster, it's an East African country. I think it's either Rwanda or Tanzania. I am not too sure, but it just tells you, I think it's Rwanda. Rwanda is pretty progressive, I must say. And they have become the first African country to include gaming as part of their offerings, as part of the sports that they officially participate in at the Olympics. And that's a major thing. That's a major deal. One, it just recognizes that, there's a lot of innovation taking place. The young people, their interest in gaming is not just a fad. It's something that is here to stay. Gaming is part and parcel of a culture. It's a culture. People that game, they make friends that way. They do business that way. It might be a culture that many of us don't understand, but it's definitely a major culture. And by recognizing esports, it means that we're able to now capture an entire new captive market, which is equally worth, hundreds of millions, if not more. And similarly, when we play these games, we deal with the same issues. We have likeness involved, image likeness. So when we're playing FIFA FIFA 2026, you're literally playing with the same players. And believe it or not, contracts have to be signed between the FIFA as a body and EA. But unfortunately, what I heard about 2 years ago is that EA Games have decided to terminate their contract with FIFA and effectively create their own version of FIFA. So they will not call it FIFA, obviously, for obvious reasons. But they know that there's so much money involved, and the amount they're paying in license fees. Because believe it or not, even though they develop the game, they have to pay royalties to FIFA, because FIFA is giving them the right, the license to use the characters, not characters, but the images of the footballers. Okay, that costs a lot of money. So if they're turning over 1 billion every year, it's very likely that out of that 1 billion, 300 million of that is just being paid out to FIFA just for royalties. So there's a lot going on in that space. AI in sport, huge deal. Yes, it's now called FC. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's changed exactly, because I mean, it's I can't speculate too much about why they split, but I think it's pretty obvious to most of us why they split. I think it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious because the amount of money you're paying out in royalties is it's a lot. We're talking hundreds of millions, okay? And who has the technical know-how? It's EA. It's not FIFA. It's EA. So all FC has to do is literally just recreate the whole thing and just, call it another name, which is exactly what they've done. But the thing is, whether that would be popular is left to be said. So maybe Habib can share with us whether FC is as popular as FIFA. But again, it's all about leveraging financially and exploiting for the highest offer. So AI in sport, that's another big thing. AI is obviously it's not a trend anymore. AI has become embedded into a lot of the things we do. And sport is no different, particularly from commentary side, analysis, imagery, AI. AI is creating content. It's creating content. And the worry about AI is, about not piracy per se, but the worry about, you are kind of creating content off the original creators. You're exploiting your machine learning off this original content for your benefit. So, those are the kind of issues that we see in sport that actually we still see in other areas. So AI in sports, to my mind, I think can be great. It can be used for, maybe in the context of, maybe I would say, imagine fantasy football, maybe creating more interesting scenarios and things. But what I would not like to see is where AI is now used to, rip off original creators, which is what a lot of creators campaign against. They don't want AI to train on their content because they didn't give permission. So it's a tricky one. Permissions, consent, data rights, those are still issues that we have to kind of surmount when using AI. NFTs, digital assets, again, those also there were really big issues. NFT, the use of NFTs was really topical, like say 3 years ago, and then things kind of cooled off. Creating digital art, creating digital tokens. I think there were a couple of clubs that created even their own crypto. Yeah, there were two. I think Man U had its own crypto coin. The coins, right? So clubs were creating coins as ways of getting their fans involved, buying into the brand, etc. So again, that's just how club brands, sports brands are trying to attract newer generations, maybe fans that are aligned in that direction. Data rights, same thing. I think we talked a bit about data rights. There's a thin line between freedom of expression, and creating off other people's content, machine learning off other people's content. So we have to be very mindful about the proprietary information. There's something very interesting going on though in the sports betting scene. So the sports betting scene now has kind of evolved. And I know it's always been a sore point because the sports betting scene, it kind of erodes on trust in sports. Unfortunately, it does. And sports betting, unfortunately, has kind of now, it's kind of being associated with things like sort of like how do you call it now? Match fixing, spot fixing, So those behaviors, those activities fly in the face of sports completely, So what a lot of sports betting companies are also trying to do is, well, not I don't know whether they're doing it in Nigeria and Africa, but you can actually buy data from tournaments, like a major tournament, a major football game, a major tennis game, a major basketball game. You can buy their data. Now they need that. Now they are being trained to ask for due diligence of people who want to buy access to this data, because ideally sports betting companies also see these kind of trades that are unusual. If they suddenly see so many bets going into one particular game, unusual movement, they are ideally supposed to report these issues. So data becomes actually a matter of how much money you can make, and or the price you're willing to pay to lose your integrity. So yeah. So match fixing, spot fixing, these are things that are really, really critical. And these are major issues that are arising in the sports industry. And we just need to be very mindful, because it kind of erodes the game. It erodes the game in a terrible way. Okay, so can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, let's skip this one. It's not really important. Let's skip this one. Okay, so basically, I think the key things we need to remember is this: IP in sports is multi-layered, okay? There's no single right. There's so many different rights you need to protect. There's no one size fits all. You need to think about image. You need to think about data protection. You need to think about licensing. You need to think about broadcasting, copyright. There's a lot. So just think of it as, and it's no pun intended, as an arsenal of all the different IP, protections that you have at your disposal. Okay, so who owns these rights? They're owned by organized. I know the arsenal of legal in arsenal. So rights are owned by organizations, not always individuals. Leagues, governing bodies, they hold a lot of valuable IP as well, not the individual athletes. Okay, remember that it's the leagues, it's the major bodies that own these rights. Technology is always changing the status quo. It's always challenging IP frameworks. You understand? So again, where I talked about AI, I mean, think of it like, I mean, even now with these fake images that are popping up everywhere, you see an image of Ronaldo having tea with the Queen. Those are major issues that are happening that unfortunately athletes need to think about, clubs need to think about, legal teams need to think about, how AI can be used in a bad way. AI is brilliant, but unfortunately it is a terrible thing when in the wrong hands, effectively. So we really need to think, like, how can I protect my client? What can I do if I see a fake story being circulated about my client? What steps do I take? IP rights are territorial, as we all know. So a right that is valid in the UK may not be enforceable in another country, and also it depends very much on the sophistication of the IP rights. Some countries have far more sophisticated rights than other countries. When for Nigeria, yes, although we have copyright 2022, which is great because it has given us further protections that it didn't recognize before, but we still need to think about the gray areas that it still doesn't cover. Okay, so we need to now look at IP as a commercial strategy. It's not just about, oh yeah, I've trademarked, that's the most basic thing. We need to think beyond basic. How do we all become bold IP strategists? Not just protecting our clients, not just protecting, individuals, leagues, organizations, but actually how can we help them exploit? I think where we're falling behind, if you personally ask me, we're falling behind in terms of exploitation. We're still at that stage where it's all about, oh, I'm going to send you a cease and desist because you used a trademark. I think that's still scraping the surface. We need to go beyond that. We need to start talking about, wow, we created this merchandise, we created this 3D multiverse experience, you know, where I've patented this multiverse experience for, you know, that has been patented to this particular club. So we really need to go beyond where we are currently, where we are mostly talking about trademarks and oh, this person used my trademark. Oh, you know, that is really where most disputes stop in Nigeria. Let's be honest, Africa maybe as a whole. So how do we go beyond that basic level of, oh, it's a trademark dispute? We need to really grow our IP industry so that our clients are exploiting from all angles. We're still not seeing naming rights. You know, we're still not seeing very new, innovative fan experiential engagements. We're not. And I think that's just because we haven't just put enough. Investors have been quite scared to put money into the sports industry because they don't know what their ROI is going to be. So yeah, there's a lot of, you know, room for growth. But until we grow, until we push the boundaries of innovation, our IP, the extent of our IP arsenal is going to remain quite poor. Can we move to the next slide? I think we're about wrapping up. So now we're at the Q&A, so we can do our Q&A at this point. So I hope that was a useful sort of overview on you know, IP and sports and how it interacts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. Can we hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, if you can hear me, okay, if you can hear me, we normally do take our questions and answers towards the end of the program, and we want to encourage our mentees to save up all their questions so that we can kindly do that when we are close to wrapping that up. Thank you so much, Mark, for the very detailed introduction into sports business and law. We appreciate how thorough you were with just basically disseminating the whole sector as a whole in the time that you did. So once again, a very, very big thank you from all of us now. So we still have a few of our other mentors on the call. I can see we have Miss Navana Talk just joined in. Thank you so much, Mark, for being here. So
Welcome.
please, I still want us to revert back to, yeah, yeah. So please, I still want us to revert back to our other mentors that are here. Mr. Farai, are you now here with us?
Yes, I am here, and thank you very much. I was about to interject there as you were talking to say, thank you very much, Beverly, for that very thorough presentation. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and
Thank you, Farai.
I think I should have gone before you, because it's not every seminar or workshop that I then say, can I donate my time to the next speaker? I would rather assist when it comes to questions and answers. I think I'll just be repeating some of the things that Beverly has said. It was a thorough presentation, so I'm quite happy to engage on the question and answer so that I do not take time repeating what has already been said. Particularly on the image rights topic, which is my passion. I was hoping and praying that you have a technical glitch so that I can take over. But thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Farai. We really, really do appreciate you being present with us today. Thank you very much. Mr. Polarin, sir, do you like or do you have anything you would like to share with us in this session, sir?
I think I would I will toe the line that has already been established in the words of some of the judges, justices of the Supreme Court. I adopt Beverly's presentation as mine. It wasn't just very well put together and very complete. It was also very interesting and entertaining to listen to. So it was entertaining and informative. So
Thank you.
I adopt as mine. She has covered the field, if you know.
Cover the field. Doctrine of field of play.
Yes, she has covered the field with her arsenal. So,
Thank you, Mr. Aluko.
so well, thank you very much, Beverly. That was well done. So I would yield my time to her as well.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Folarin. Okay, I think we'll just still just pass over the mic in that sense.
So I don't know if there are any
To
questions
Ms.
at
Nabana,
all.
Mrs. Maximus. Okay, Miss.
I don't know if there are any questions, but it doesn't look like there are.
Okay, so I'm trying to see how best we can take what's next on our list in terms of our agenda, what we can go on with next. Um, we're supposed to have presentations from the mentees, right? So we usually have two groups. We usually, sorry, sorry about that. We usually have two groups who present in class. So I don't know if we have our presenters with us, group one and group two. After we are done with your presentation, then we just go straight to questions. Group one, can we have your presentation? Hello, mentees, can you hear us? Are you guys with us? Okay, goodness, are you trying to speak?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening,
Please,
goodness. I guess you're presenting on behalf of the firm.
yes. Please, can you share the screen for me?
All right. So just give me a minute soon. Please, you have 10 minutes for your presentation. We would like for it to be as fast as possible so that we can just quickly get to questions. Thank you. Like I said, just 1 minute. Let me get your slides up.
Okay, sir. Okay, so thank you, sir.
Can you see my screen? Okay, please go ahead.
Yes. Okay, good evening once again. My name is Akubeze Goodness, and I'm presenting for Group 1. The topic for the week is sports, business, and law, mostly intellectual property law. Next slide. Okay, so by way of introduction, we know that we view sports as a form of lucrative activity and like a recreational activity as a purpose of entertainment. But in contemporary times now, sport has gone beyond just recreational activity to become a lucrative business that creates rights and obligations for the parties involved. And as a business, there has to be a source of incomes through sponsorship or endorsement deals. Now, this is how sports in today's world has been able to generate income towards becoming a business. And we know when we talk about business is like there's a commercial aspect to it. That is the monetization aspect, and sports and commercialize through sponsorship deals, endorsement deals. Now, this is like the core of the sports industry in today's world. No longer the form of entertainment or recreational activity we used to know before. So now this sports law now has to do with contractual relationship. This relationship seeks to leverage image rights. The images, reputations of the athletes to promote a product or services. Why significantly beneficial for both the brand and the athletes alike. Sorry, next slide. Next slide, sir. Sorry, sir, can you hear me? Okay, thank you so much. Talking on sports as a business, one of the ways sports as a business could gain income could be through um broadcasting rights. Now, broadcasting rights, also known as media rights, this is like a legal right held by a broadcasting company to control, license, and profit from distribution of audiovisual content through various media channels. Next slide. Now, broadcasting rights and the legal framework that governs this is the National Broadcasting Commission Act. This governs the broadcasting sectors in Nigeria. It establishes the Nigeria Broadcasting Code, which sets out the minimum standards for content and quality in broadcasting. This act also empowers the National Broadcasting Commission to regulate the industry and enforce compliance within these standards. Next slide, sir. Moving on, we're talking on licensing requirements. Now, under the National Broadcasting Commission Act, any individual or organization that intends to operate a radio, television, cable, or satellite station must apply to the National Broadcasting Commission. Now, the process involves obtaining and submitting an application form along with key documents such as certificates of incorporations, memorandum, article of associations, feasibility reports, and a letter of undertaking to comply with the license terms and banker's reference. Next slide, sir. Now, Section 9, Subsection 1 of the National Broadcasting Commission Act provides that an applicant for a broadcast license must be a corporate body registered in Nigeria or a government-owned station. The National Broadcasting Commission must also ensure that the applicant is not representing any foreign interest or body, and upon satisfaction that this particular person who intends to obtain the broadcast license If the person has satisfied the requirements, the commission would recommend the license through the Minister of Information to the president for approval. Only when this is approved that the person or the organization can obtain the broadcast license to run a broadcasting company in Nigeria. Next slide, sir. Another legal frameworks and that govern broadcasting rights is the Nigerian Copyright Act of 2022. The Copyright Act of 2022 governs intellectual aspects of broadcasting rights. It defines the ownership of broadcast content. It protects the rights of the holder and criminalizes unauthorized use of the broadcast or the rebroadcasting or piracy of such content. That it creates the right that allows the owner of such a broadcast to use the broadcast for commercial purposes and deters others from using such broadcasts or rebroadcasts without due permission, authorization from the rightful owner. Next slide, sir. Moving on, we're talking on athletes, contracts, collective bargains, and intellectual property. So athletes contracts, I see it as a way of a work contract, a service contract, or even an agency contract. Now, the commercialization of modern sports has transformed athletes to become a valuable intellectual property asset with their names, image, likeness, and personnel generating incomes for them through broadcasting and endorsement deals, sponsorship deals, and even merchandising. Now, as a result of this, athletes' contracts. Sorry, I think there is okay. Thank you so much. Now, as a result of this, athletes' contracts, players and unions, and collective bargaining agreements now regulate not only the labor relations, but also the ownership and exploitations of these rights. Now, this has created a legal complex issues relating to control, fairness, and enforcement of such intellectual property rights in sports. Next slide, sir. Now, intellectual property in athletes' contracts. So, modern athletes' contracts goes beyond just stipulating the salary of the athlete to also regulate the use of the athlete's name, image, likeness, personal brand under the rights of publicity. Now, athletes may grant limited rights to the teams or leagues for promotion while still retaining like the control of such rights for personal endorsement deals. Now, endorsement deals is like one of the important source of income for top athletes like LeBron James, Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, as all the likes. Endorsement deals is a form of income, on extra income aside for the salary obtained from the services they render to the clubs. Endorsement deals has generated incomes for athletes that has built their personnel to become a valuable asset that the public actually values, and the company wants to have like an influence of such in such rights of that particular athlete to the public, thus sponsoring the athletes or having a deal or contractual relationship with the athletes. Next slide, sir. Now, as we all know, no relationship, no contractual relationship is without dispute. Dispute will surely arise where there is two or more parties in any relationship, especially contractual relationship. Now, this often arises as a form of ambiguity in contract, where the contract does not stipulate the term in a way that says this is this, but actually like it's just broad, covering a vast area. Not It does not stipulate that this is the right of the parties, this is what the party is supposed to do. Like, the ambiguous contracts often create issues in the future after signing such contracts. And some of the areas these issues or disputes arise is in terms of ownership and allocation of image rights. Now, a key issue in athletes' contracts is the ownership of and control of image rights, which covers the commercial use of an athlete's identity, likeness, voice, personal brands. Now, this why these rights can be protected under the trademark law, copyright, once they are being fixated in a tangible medium. Clubs do not automatically own these rights of the athletes. Now, the IP still remains with the athletes unless the athlete goes on to sign a contract that allows the clubs to commercialize a certain aspect of his IP. Now, when the disputes arise in this area, when there is unclear drafting of the contract does not stipulate the durations of when the contract will run, what area to be commercialized. Like the contract is broad, like it does not stipulate what area is specific that is being commercialized, and the duration for such contract or the territorial scope and use in emerging technologies. Now, this is one of the major areas where disputes often arise when it comes to ownership and allocations of image rights. Next slide, sir. Another area of dispute often arises is the conflict between employment and intellectual property rights. Now, when it comes to contractual relationship or athletes contracts, it is a form of work contract or a service contract. Now, it has like employment duties. Now, conflict arise when these employment duties and intellectual properties tends to clash. It creates a tension between team wanting to have control over the IPs and the athletes wanting to have his independence over the that IP. Now, this creates tensions, thus leading to disputes. Disputes arises over endorsement deals. Sorry, over endorsement deals and use of athletes' likeness, especially when clubs limit or restrict the personal sponsorship and use and may be challenged as restraints of trade. Now, the club may want to like have the commercial control of the athlete's IP, while the athlete himself would like, okay, no, I want to use my IP the way I want it. I want to use my image right. I want to commercialize it. But some of these clubs often restrict an extra, or should I say, mm, a personal sponsorship or endorsement deal outside the one the clubs actually brings for the athletes. Now, the athletes may go on to challenge this in court that this is a form of restraint of trade, and we know that a person has a economic right to go into a trade of their choice that is legal and recognized in law. Now, the club wanting to control the commercial aspects of the athletes, this has created a lot of tension that oftentimes the athletes and the club will have like a dispute arising based on this control over the particular IP, while the athlete does not want the club to have the control of such IP. Next slide, sir. Another area where disputes often arise is commercial exploitation and revenue sharing. Now, revenue from athletes' intellectual properties like through broadcast, merchandising, video games, and all the rest is often bundled by teams and leagues. Now, disputes arise when the contract fails to define how royalties are being shared. This failure to stipulate how the royalties are being shared leads to unfair compensation for athletes. Like the contract does not stipulate, is it 50-50, 60-40? Like the contract is like blank on such royalty details. Now, this will lead to disputes arising in terms of revenue sharing. Another area where disputes often arise is moral and personality rights. Now, when it comes to rights of an IP owner, we see economic rights and moral rights. Why an athlete may lose his economic rights over a particular IP, the moral right still remains with him despite the economic rights being passed to another party. The moral right still remains with him. Now, the moral right is there to protect the reputation of such athletes, in this case, from his image being altered, misused, or associated with products that could create or ruin his reputation. Let's say an athlete does not take alcohols or any drug, but the club goes ahead to like create a sponsorship deal with alcohol. Now, this could trigger like a reputational harm to his career because his image has been portrayed to like display him as a person who takes such products or agrees or sponsor such products when he claims he doesn't do that. Now, this moral rights will want to protect the athlete from his image rights being altered, misused, or associated with products that that is that creates a harm in his reputations or violate his moral rights, especially online. This is like the major issues because social media has become a place where an athlete's reputation can easily be tarnished by a single post image. So this moral and personality rights is an area where disputes often arise when it comes to athletes' contracts between the athletes and the club or the league, as the case may be. Next slide, sir. Moving on to union and collective intellectual property rights. Now, this union plays crucial roles and such as group licensing agreements and revenue distribution. Now, the unions often negotiate licensing programs for multiple athletes likeness and bundles for commercial purposes such as trading cards, video games, broadcasting, and promotional campaigns. Now, although this is efficient, this system has its defaults in terms of unequal distribution of royalties, where a particular athlete, a top tier athlete, is being um, made to share the same amount with lower or low tier athletes. Like this union creates the same category for it for these athletes. Now, dispute will arise over whether the revenue is fairly allocated amongst players. Now, the conflict actually arises when stars athletes who feel undercompensated relative to their market value. They feel that no, the compensation they're receiving from this union is below their market values, where lesser known athletes are having the same pay as they are having, and as a top tier athletes, they feel this is below their market values. No, this dispute arises in this area of group licensing agreements and revenue sharing dispute.
Sorry, hello, goodness, are you with us? Please, we'd like to kindly request that you try to speed up your presentation, so that we
Okay, sir.
just get straight to questions. Thank you.
No problem, sir. Next slide, sir. Another area that disputes often arise is this duty of fair representation in IP matters. Now, union must balance competing interests when negotiating collective bargaining agreements involving IP rights. Potential liabilities arises if agreement disproportionately benefits one group over another. Now, the star athlete may seek individual control over his IP. The lower tier player may prefer collective monetization to guarantee income. Now, the union that fails to fairly represent all members could face legal challenges under the duty of fair representation. Next slide, sir. Just move on to the next subtopic. Now we're talking about IP protection in sports. Now, protecting IP in sports involves using legal and practical strategies to prevent all authorized use of valuable assets like logos and broadcast innovations. Next slide. We're talking on strategies for protection. Yes. Some strategies could include registrations of rights. Sports organizations could register the trademark, copyright, and patents to secure legal ownership. And they could another strategies for protection could be licensing agreements. Now, authorized use of IPs, such as official merchandise, could help control distribution and violated or used without authorization, and regular surveillance of market helps to detect when your IP is being infringed, and you can institute a suit against such a person who is infringing on your intellectual property rights. Next slide, sir. So, in conclusion, the intersection of athletes' contracts, collective bargaining, and intellectual properties creates legal and complex legal challenges centered on tension between individual ownership of identities and collective commercial exploitations. Now, the key issue includes unclear IP clauses, conflicts between employment and proprietary rights, unequal revenue distribution, and limits of dispute resolution mechanism. And as sport has become more digital and global, clearer contracts and stronger protection of athletes' autonomy are essential to balance commercial interests with intellectual property rights. And thank you so much. This is the end of the presentation from Group 1. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Goodness, for stepping up to the presentation on behalf of your group board and to your team members who put in the work to get the presentation ready. So because of our time, we would just want to head to our mentors that are still on the call. Unfortunately, Mrs. Sorry, her name has slipped my mind. All right. Our mentor that got the opportunity to speak first is unable to continue with us in the session. And then Mr. Folarin also had to step off the call. So, but we still have Mr. Farai on the call. So please, I want to get your feedback to the presentation. And for the mentees, please, can you kindly, if you have a question you would like to ask in regards to the topic for today, I think the subject matter for today is actually very broad. So please, you can just kindly raise your hand and indicate. I'm sure Mr. Farai and I think Ms. Navana is with us, if I'm not mistaken. Right, they will help address our questions. So please, you can kindly indicate by raise of hands if you have a question. Hello, mentees, do we have questions? Mr. Farai, please, you can go ahead and give us your thoughts on the presentation.
Thank you very much. I think the presentation shows that a lot of work went into the research to understand the issues. They are not always easy issues to understand, particularly when you are new to this matter. So I'm quite impressed by the group's research. They've identified the pertinent issues. I think it's almost a replica of Beverly's presentation earlier when it comes to the categories of the issues that the group has dealt with, which shows that they did a thorough job, and well done for that. From an actual presentation, the presenter did a good job as well, but part of it, if not most of it, the brilliance was stolen by reading what's on the slide. If you would have seen Beverly's presentation, it was almost bullet points and you expand on that, because you don't want to be reading to the audience or to the listeners what's already on the slide. Your slide is just there to guide you, and you can expand on that. That's one issue. And then the second part is I would have, and I'm not saying this is no criticism against the presenter, it would have been useful to allocate different sections to different members of the group, so that you don't burden one person, because the longer one person speaks, the listeners or the audience tends to then start drifting away. Whereas if you then interrupt that by, I'm not sure whether that's how they were instructed to do the presentations, but if you interrupt that by changing the presenter, it sort of brings the listeners back, because it breaks sort of the monotony. And as I said, it's no criticism against the presenter. It's just that if it's a group assignment, it's group work, you would expect more people to work on that. And I see there's a question there. Unfortunately, I know I mentioned that I was quite, or it has disappeared, sorry. There's a question there, how do broadcasting rights operate within the Nigerian framework, and what does the National Broadcasting Commission play? Unfortunately, that's a too pointed or too specific question that I'm not quite versed in that jurisdiction, and probably would have helped if Beverly or any other of the mentors were here to assist. But on the presentation, that's all I have to say for now.
All right, thank you very much, sir. I noticed that I wanted to direct the question to one of the other mentors that had their practice within Nigeria, but considering that you are within the South African jurisdiction,
Yes.
I think I would be taking, or rather, I have a question. I'm not sure if you'll be able to cover for it, but I still want to have a general question within surrounding some of the events that happened within the African continent, especially um, the CAF African Champions, the CAF Nations Cup rather, that was held some time ago in January, especially with the overturning of the decision, the recent overturning of the decision to award Senegal the overturn Senegal's win to Morocco. What are the legalese around that kind of situation? Is there a proper legal structure that actually covers for that kind of overturning, saying that the award had already been given and 2 months later is then overturned?
Yeah, so I deliberately avoid commenting on the specific issue, whether that was the right decision or wrong decision, for other work that I do that might touch on that. But on a general point, the overturning of decision or results, particularly arising from the field, is not a new thing, and what is new here is the reason for that. So if you look at anti-doping or anti-doping, depending on how you pronounce these things, some people are stripped of their medals 4 or 5 years later, and then number 2 is elevated to gold, or number 3 is elevated to silver after further tests have been done on labs, and the science has improved. So that's not a new thing. It's obviously undesirable that a person who has worked hard to be champion is only recognized 5, 6 years down the line. But there are rules that say, there are review mechanisms that are there. The football example that you use, perhaps the controversy there, and as I said, I wouldn't comment on whether it's a right decision or wrong decision. It's primarily to do with how what seems to be a referee's decision then gets reviewed in the boardroom, and it's overturned or changed. But again, that's not a new thing. A few years ago in the Champions League, the same thing almost happened when the referees had called off the match, but the executive had intervened to try and get that match to be played again. So the general principle is that yes, ideally, when the final whistle or the final gun goes, the competition should be over and the winners are crowned. But there are circumstances that may result in the results being overturned, and it's a very common thing, particularly in anti-doping setups where results then get annulled and that sort of thing.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Thank you for at least trying to give some perspective to the question I asked. Yeah, do we still have any more questions from the mentees? Any more questions?
Yes, I
Okay,
have to present something, please.
okay, please go ahead, Miss Navana.
Hi.
I was,
Yes, nice to meet you all. Yeah,
yes, good evening.
nice to meet you and pleased to join you today in this very interesting subject, the IP and the sport, which is means a lot for me because I like sport since long time ago and try to practice it as much as I can until now. Even there is a lot of working hours that I don't have a lot of free time, but sports it's very important activity in anybody life. Concerning the presentation sent to me concerning the IPN sport, I'd like to add and comment on some points which is related to our subject of this year of IP World Day, which will be on the 26th of April. First things and the most important things is the sport is related directly in our let's say in the last 15 years it's related to business directly, which wasn't like this before. Um, Most of the championships or champion people or athletes are well known due to the social media, due to the brands, due to many other things because they have awareness of intellectual property rights. So they started to register all their assets, IP assets, like they're starting from their name as a brand, starting to the way of playing depends if it's football, if it's tennis, which is full of intellectual property, and we'll discuss it later. Swimming, even water polo, matches. Also, there is Olympic and Coupe d'Afrique or Cup of Africa, which is related also to many IP rights. And as we all know that I think last 2 weeks the sorry because some words in French, the Coupe d'Afrique was taken from Senegal. So the all the news related to sports automatically related to business, automatically related to IP and law. And I think even I'm not interested in football, but by the way, and all the time I have to follow the news and the updates of big matches like Coupe d'Afrique, like also the Mondial. And there is all the time stories related to this, which these stories is stolen by money, and there is relation between this story and business. And after these matches, there is many business doing through license trade license, or there is many kinds of license related to this matches, or this championship, or this how to say, this athlete advertising. Also, there is many IP infringement. As we know, like the last time there is a problem, or not problem, infringement on Puma, and I think it was terminated by that Puma has won her all IP rights, and the other the other side, I don't remember specific the name, but they win, and they return back all their IP rights and their money and all of this. So we realize that sports is very important. Also, the T-shirt, the training suit of all these famous people, they become famous more than stars. They became stars by time. Like my colleague said, Ronaldo and all the group of people well known all over the world. We have also Salah, Mo Salah, who was championship since more than 20 years in UK and Europe. We have also Shabana. Ahmad Shabana is very famous because he was the first who opened the road of squash sport. And it was like a trademark and trade name with his line, and most of them have many lines of perfumes, of sport clothes or other normal clothes. So they have trademarks, they have shops, they have also sport shoes, and even women have other sport. Women have other lines like makeup, like hair style and hair beauty. So they know how to invest their name and their talent in sport, in business. By these licenses, which will not, it's only in their business, in their country, but it's all over the world, even in the Middle East, Africa, in Europe, in America, and Asia. Um, and and I think it makes a lot of business, or it's a lot of money, and it makes them more famous. Not only the sport, besides the sport, this business gives them more not more treasure, but more stability in the market, because you know the sport need how to say, it needs not big age. They need until 35, 40 maximum. There is some exception, like Ronaldo, for example, but it's rarely happen. But the most athletes are between 35, the end of their practicing sports and their healthy and energy until 38, 40, 42, between this. So there is a limit of time for to be champion in sports. However, in business, it continue until end of their age, until maybe 80 people. It depends, or 90. So they invest in this, and how to invest and transform their famousty and their championship in sports to business, and business is equal IP and law automatically. So they are very smart, not like the other generations. The other generations, they finish their energy and the healthy time in sport. So خلاص, they they leave the market, and we didn't hear a lot about them. Unless some people, but it's a little number. However, in this generation, no, there is new concept that they have to be investing more in business, in shops, in marketing also. They have the social media, which is big business for them and for stars also, how to invest, and they put any news or any information about them in social media, which is it makes a lot of likes and comments and share and whatever, which have a revenue um, return back and investment for them. So I think that sport and assets in this era or these years, they are more rich people, yeah, but they are more famous sometimes than stars. Why? Because they are there. They have matches, and we people follow their lovely player. It depends. It's tennis. It's football. It's basket, swimming. It depends. This is something amusing and entertainment for people, and at the same time, this famous player, I when I follow him in tennis, for example, because I love tennis, and I play tennis also. Automatically, I will follow her or following him in social media, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. So there is two sides here. However, stars are not like this. Stars, it's a movie. It's something related to artist work. So if I don't like the movie, or I don't like this artist, or this how to say, comedian, I'm not going to follow him on social media. But sports, I can follow somebody which is not interested in his sport, like Ronaldo. I like Ronaldo, yeah, but I don't like football, and it's not one of my favorite sport. But automatically, because he's different, he has a special and unique look, and he's taking care of himself in every and in all ages and in many domains. So automatically, I'd like to follow his social media. For example, this is an example, and Mo Salah and others. However, I don't like football. I don't follow football at all. It's not attract me at all. But players, yes, I know this is a good player, and I follow his benefits and his when he make a good shot. Yeah, I know about this, but I'm not interested in the sport. So this is the difference. So from my point of view, I saw that champions are more famous, and they can make more money and more business, IP, and applying the IP law and all of this, and they have their IP rights more than stars. So they have a level superior than stars from my point of view, because they have people that amount they like it, even if I don't like the sport itself. However, in the stars, no, to follow a comedian or a singer or whatever, I should like him or like her, and they can make business easily, and they have a long term to continue in the business life. However, stars should do this also, and should have their own business, because also the stars movie and whatever theater and singer and all of this, they have and at a certain age, they cannot have the same energy, the same power, and all of this, the same support. So if they don't have their business, their own business, they will they will stop being known and stop being famous, and there is less money to enjoy in the life and in the market, and they will not be well known in the market and join festivals and all of this. So I am not going to and there is a lot of example I'd like to show, but I know the time it's nearby to be finished. It's really it's one of the how to say, it's one of the most favorite for me sport, and automatically related to intellectual property in many things. And there is many cases of IP infringement in sports because it's full of details. It's not only the champion, it's full of clothes, shoes, bags, even his life, his personal life. Sometimes they present the personal life to be more shown, to have more money, to invest in this point, some of them. I don't prefer to show this personal life, but some of them make this to have more likes and more people, and to be all the time in the people mind. Sometimes it's smart way, sometimes no, but it's go with some people. And there is a lot of cases in the court related to IP infringement in sport, because as I said, it's become one of the most important activity in life for all people, since the kids until the adults until the over age. So sports is very important for this. People and championship are very important, and I think all people have some favorite sport, so they like it and they follow champions in their sports, and automatically there is IP rights and infringement in these rights. Sponsorship, also broadcasting. There is many related cases of this, because there is a lot of innovation in sports. Also, it's something very active. All the time there is innovation and creativity, designs for t-shirt, for pants, for whatever of clothes, jacket, sports jacket, and all of this. So there is all, I think, all IP, like trademark, patents, also designs, trade secret. Because, for example, the way of when there is a serve on tennis, some champions have a special style on playing tennis, on running on the tennis court. The net itself, it's a brand, and 100% the racket and the racket. There is many designs since long time ago, and many brands. And these brands make everything, starting from the bag, the racket, the balls, the t-shirt and the clothes, the uniform of tennis, even for ladies, for men's, the sockets, everything, the hat or the cap. So there is many nice designs, nice colors. There is all the time competition between these companies like Dunlop, Nike, Strasbourg, I think. Finally, I'd like to thank you, and tell you there is a lot to talk and to say concerning sports, because I like it really, and I have many stories in sports, but I'd like to thank you, and we have to continue together for others webinars, and I'd like to join other webinars related to sports and business and IP. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Navana. We sincerely
Thank
do
you.
appreciate your input in the class. Thank you so much. We really, really do appreciate. So thank you to all the mentees that were able to stay to the end of the session. Please do not forget to fill in your attendance. Do not forget to share what you have learned in today's session. I think our mentors have spent time to really do, even though it's within a 2 hour time frame, they were able to really try their possible best to explain to us the nitty-gritties around sports business and law. Right, so please do not forget to also tag them in your posts that you'll be making after class. And yes, share those links with us so that we can also repost them. Thank you very much, Mrs. Navana. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank
Farai.
you.
Thank you to Mr. Aluko and also to Beverly in Essential. We hope that the session has been enjoyable for everyone involved. Please do enjoy the rest of your evening and good night.
Thank you and bye bye.